From 2012 through August 2016, Rendy Reviews used to operate on the web hosting site Webs under a free account. It was a very garbage looking website to say the least, but it was the original home base where Rendy Reviews got its humble beginnings. Unfortunately, every now and then, the platform would straight up delete my reviews, and I had no method of retrieving any of those reviews back whatsoever. I even used a Wayback Machine, and that didn't help either. All of that hard work went missing, and there was nothing I could do. All of my reviews ranging between 2012 and December 2014 were completely gone. As the 10th anniversary of Rendy Reviews approaches, I decided to reclaim my babies' glory and review every old movie that was deleted, but with a fresh adult eye. I started this website when I was 14, I'm about to be 24, this brand, outlet, site, YouTube, whatever this is at this point is about to turn 10, and I'm so excited to see if these movies that I either loved or hated withstands the test of time and still holds up today. Without further ado, welcome to Rendy Reviews.
I just hear that name and I shudder. Ooh, do it again. Ooh, it tingles me.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
The 2010s was a very weird time for Hollywood when it came to movies that appealed to teenagers. There was a whole new market thanks to the likes of Twilight, Harry Potter, and The Hunger Games. If you were between the ages of 12 to 17, you're either obsessed with one of them or all three. I was addicted to this one. Oh yes, good old Rendy Jones was a full Hunger Games bitch around at the time the first movie came out. I bought all 3 books at my middle school book fair, named my third turtle PETA, and even performed an interpretive dance to Taylor Swift's Safe and Sound in front of the entire middle school student body. Was it terrible? Yes, but I have a humiliation kink. I was built different, baby! I was the Hunger Games stan, and watching this movie now has brought back sweet, sweet memories. I saw The Hunger Games on opening night with my mom at our local downtown Brooklyn Court Street Theater. The only reason my mom was so eager to take me to see it opening night was because her bae Lenny Kravitz portrayed Cinna. My mom is a Lenny Kravitz simp, and who could blame her? He's over 50-something and he still looks hot as hell. She raised my sister and I with nothing but his CDs, so I know a ton of Lenny Kravitz songs by heart. Then, as we grew older, my sister and I fell in love with Zoe Kravitz, so in a sense, we are all Kravitz simps. During the time of all these YA novel adaptations, everyone emphasized on being so close to the source material and not taking any chances that they included first-person narration, which is fine since the source materials were books that were written in the same format. But the Hunger Games film adaptation managed to break that mold and be told from the third-person point of view, which is honestly pretty bold for the time being. You got to witness the emotion firsthand instead of it being spoon-fed to you. For some reason, watching this movie unlocked the memory of my criticisms from my first viewing. I haven't read the source material nor seen this movie since 2012, but as I watched The Hunger Games all over again, I recalled ample elements from the book that were completely omitted. I remember being pissed off because there were no Avoxes whatsoever in the film, and the Avoxes were used to depict the stakes and consequences of being a rebel/traitor to the Capitol. If you don't remember, Avoxes were the enslaved people who got their tongues cut out if they went against the Capitol. They were kind of integral to the scene of the book. In this movie, they didn't even get a mention. Though the film was over 2 hours long and was paced rather well, there were several character elements that I wish were a bit more developed, especially regarding the relationship between Katniss and Gale. While he was always the bestie and never the bae, the two could have at least had a little more screen time together. That being said, they did make the most of what little time they shared. This is a, 2.5 hour movie anyway. Director Gary Ross was truly the least qualified filmmaker that could have gotten his hands on this story. You could tell it was his first thriller action film. Seriously, what made you think the director of Pleasantville and Seabiscuit was the perfect fit for adapting The Hunger Games? This movie would have been so much better if someone bought either a tripod or a stabilizer to set. I can acknowledge the areas in the film where the use of handhelds would have put you in the passenger seat for Katniss's experience. The moments she spent doing interviews with Caesar Flickerman, and you saw her backstage or amongst her PR team, Effie, Cinna, and Haymitch, were the most appropriate times to do it in order to make this feel like a reality show the games were meant to satirize. But when you unnecessarily used handheld for the majority of the movie, that's where you completely fucked up. From the moment this movie began and you were supposed to see the poverty-stricken District 12, shaky cam. Gil and Katniss conversing, shaky cam. Scenes of training, shaky cam. The Hunger Games itself, shaky cam. Everything was handheld and insert shots, and it was so oddly filmed and you couldn't see jack shit. I know 2012 was very heavy on found footage movies like Project X and Chronicle, but goddamn, this didn't need to be a found footage entry. This movie would have been less frustrating to watch if somebody stabilized that fucking camera. It's as if when the crew was starting production, the tripod got lost at baggage claim and Gary Ross said, "It's fine, we could do this shit without a tripod." And everyone responded with, I don't know if you can. Even the shot composition was so emphasized on close-ups that when you had Katniss and Peeta in the Capitol and you tried to admire how the visual effects artists translated this high-class society to the big screen, you ended up shouting at the screen, "Bruh, scale the camera back!" There were far too many quick pans and edits that diminish other aspects that made this film function, such as the fanciful costume design, production design, and performances. Everyone brought their A game, yet the direction was so choppy. It's embarrassing. You're embarrassing J-Law! On a good note, some highlighted scenes from the source material that were translated were done with skill and care. The scene where Katniss showed up the game makers and shot an arrow through the apple in the pig's mouth was excellent. It was a great scene that depicted her aggressive and hard-edged personality. The Katniss and Rue scenes were so sweet that when you got to her inevitable death, it was done with care and poignancy. These are just a few examples that show the amount of effort used to closely follow Suzanne Collins' book. It also helped that she was one of the 3 credited screenwriters. The film's ensemble of recognizable talents are great in their designated roles. Jennifer Lawrence truly was Katniss Everdeen. She perfectly embodied her hard-boiled, survivalist demeanor. Since she became this fish out of water in the Capitol who simply wasn't a people person, Katniss played true to herself while playing their game, and Lawrence masterfully exuded that through her performance. This was the first year she blew up exponentially, and her performance as Katniss in this first feature was evidence of her being the movie star we all know and irresistibly watch today. Josh Hutcherson, who has been a talent since he was a kid, was a great Peeta Mellark. Granted, he was a simp for Katniss, but he genuinely had the charm to woo the audience at the Capitol and the viewers. Woody Harrelson was pitch perfect as Haymitch. Miss Pitch Perfect Mother herself, Elizabeth Banks, was fantastic as Effie Trinket. Lenny Kravitz as Cinna was also great. Stanley Tucci was the best flamboyant straight dude who ate up scenery like a motherfucker. Donald Sutherland was intimidating as hell as President Snow. Ugh, this casting was A-list top notch, to the extent that even some of the district contestants ended up becoming talented stars. I was so shocked by the recognizable talent of today who appeared in this film, such as Katniss' adversaries. Yeah, you had Amanda Stenberg as Rue, which was her major breakout role. Then you had Alexander Ludwig as the ultra-violent and stone-cold Cato. Friggin' Isabel Furman was the bloodthirsty Clove. Also, friggin' Jack Quaid was Marvel. Baby Jack Quaid! I nearly choked on my spit because I didn't even know who he was when the first film came out. It feels crazy watching this today because it's like, wow, Rue was murdered by Jack Quaid, who was then murdered by J-Law. As far as the first entry for the Hunger Games franchise, this did a satisfactory job at being a big screen adaptation. The film was held together by the performances of the A-list ensemble, and the extravagant production design was immersive for the world of Panem. It did a good job from a writing perspective developing the grassroots of the rebellion, and depicting the cruel, cold-hearted nature of the Hunger Games itself. That being said, the direction is what held this film back severely. It was so adamant on translating the material to screen that kids without any film knowledge can go, hey, it's faithful and it works because of that. But then you're like, man, this could have been stronger. I don't really remember my rating was from back then, and I think it was either a 3 or 3.5, but man, it's truly just a 3-star movie. This is why they hired Francis Lawrence for the sequels. Because Jesus Christ, dude. 3 stars.